There's a chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly. Rotherham United's pathway back to the championship is opening up.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the New York Talk podcast. Thank you all for being with us. And I can promise a happy podcast for once. For the first time in a long time, will have smiles all around. There's barely a bone to pick, although we will certainly find at least one from yesterday's game. But we'll come on to that, hopefully near the end. A 4-0 win on Saturday afternoon live on Sky. Can't really ask for much more than that. We'll go through some fantastic performances, some great changes from the management team and whatnot. Yeah, we'll pick it apart and we'll enjoy it. Mick's back with us. You happy with what we may still get a Mick rant later on?
Possibly. Who knows?
Danny's back with us. How you doing, Danny?
I'm all right, thank you. How are we doing, gents?
Perfect for a weekend.
Lovely.
And Tom is back with us. How you doing, Tom?
Yeah, I'm great. I'm really good.
Brilliant stuff. We're all very happy, as you can tell. First of all, thank you everybody who has already subscribed to the YouTube channel. We've now clocked over 850, aiming for 900 before the end of the season, but we might nail that well before then, to be honest. If you haven't done it already, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't done. If you're audio listening as well, make sure you subscribe to iTunes, Spotify as well, because we are listening there as well. Where to start? You know, we've talked longer than it took Rotherham to score in terms of the game yesterday. It's Shelley. We'll start with Shelley. It says, "Evening, lads. Still trying to figure out what match I attended yesterday. It certainly wasn't the one I've been watching lately." Yeah. 31 seconds into the game, Mick, Hakeem Adolphin scored. The goal itself was a brilliant finish, but the sort of build-up, there wasn't really a build-up to it, but it was instantly more like what we expected. It was much more intense. There was much more. It was very, very quick. We could talk about the finish, I suppose, in a moment, but within those first 30 seconds, we saw everything we wanted to see, didn't we?
Yeah. The build-up from the kickoff to the ball in the back of the net kind of epitomised everything we've been screaming for the last 6 weeks or whatever it is, you know. And what, like you said, what a finish as well. It was great, absolutely fantastic, and what a start. The immediate reaction is, "Oh God, we've scored too early." That was my first thought. Being a bit positive as I am, but yeah, great finish.
Yeah, it was. And he's going for a little bit of stick recently, Danny. He's barely played, to be fair to Adolphin, and it's really good to see him get that goal, get himself off the mark in the league. He scored some Papa John's goals. But I did chuff for him because he had a good game as well, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, definitely. And as the saying goes, a Dolphin only scores screamers. Because he had the rebounded screamer against Doncaster, then he scored against Man City, I think. And now he's got his first league goal against Blackburn, of all teams. But yeah, he had a really, really good game. It was very, very solid. He sort of matched Barlaser quite well in that little midfield role, with Ollie maybe playing a little bit further forward than them two. But yeah, he just had a solid game, Adolphin, didn't he? Just a very, very solid game. It was consistent throughout, got his goal, and I think he is worthy of that spot in the team of the week as well.
Yeah, he did get the space in the team of the week. He deserved it. We love. Mick said earlier, tweeted earlier. We love Victor. I don't know how Victor got in team at week. That's the mystery. He had one chop save, I think. And he saved it, I suppose. 100% save, 100% ratio, I suppose. Well, I suppose it comes. Tom, let's go back to this before the game started. It was in the morning when the teams were announced. 4-4-3-3, back to a back four. Sits obviously still keeping the three in the middle, which I think is key. How surprised were you? We talked about it last week that Danny mentioned that we might see the four at the back. Were you surprised that he took both newbies in and went straight to that sort of formation?
Not really. After seeing the signings he made, it was kind of obvious that not obvious, but it was kind of his inclination that he wanted to go forward back, wasn't it? Because I think Bramwell's a good player. I really like him, but I don't think he's a left back. I think he's more of a winger. But this gonna butcher it every single time I say it. Yelder. Yeah, Yelder. Every single As soon as he was signed, you kind of knew he'd slot in at left back, and you kind of thought Morrison would kind of come straight in as well. But yeah, I thought the back four really suited us well. I thought Peltier had his best game for us. Did everything quite sound. Obviously Morrison slotted in very well, but everyone's been talking about him. I just thought we were really solid at the back, and we went into like a 4-5-1 when defending. And I think that really suited us as well. It means that we weren't really caught on the wings as much as we have been, and I think that was a big issue. But it's credit to Taylor seeing what's been going wrong and trying to change it. I think it's a credit to him.
Yeah, he changed it in mid-game, Mick, didn't he, to be fair? On the 80th minute, whatever it was, when Woody came on, he went changed back to essentially 3-5-2. So it's good that there is that flexibility within the players, and it's now obvious to say that's clearly what he's wanted to do since the World Cup. We just had the personnel to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know everybody's sort of raved about Sean Morrison yesterday, and I might be a bit of a controversial view, but I thought he were all right. I don't think he pulled any trees up. I don't think he did anything spectacular. He was just solid. He's obviously got a long way to go for his fitness because he's slower than anybody I've ever seen on a football pitch, I think. Poor lad looks like he's running through a tree club, but he is a big unit, so he's going to take some shifting. But yeah, I thought he played all right. And Helder as well was all right, but he was caught out quite a few times, particularly in that first half, out of position, wrong side of his man. So he's obviously got a lot to learn.
He did dive in quite a bit, but
yeah, absolutely. He's like you. I think you said it at the time, Matt. He's very much a raw talent, and he's got some molding to. There's some molding to be done before he's anywhere close to the finished article. I'm not 100% convinced how much of a difference those two players made to that performance. And if I had to nail my colours to the mast, I'd say they didn't make much of a difference. Don't get me wrong. That's not to say in any way that I'm saying that they played badly or anything else. Do you know what I'm saying? I just don't think that was the difference yesterday. But having said all that, two great additions, two fantastic additions. But yeah, the changing formation and the changing style were the key.
Yeah.
Liberty says here, the match was that good he watched it again when he got home and watched it again, and I followed this morning with the commentary.
I've done the exact same.
Yeah.
And I am actually really happy that I did as well, because we had the co-commentary from Les Payne on iFollow, and a Dolphins goal is the fastest goal in the Championship so far this season. Yeah, 31 seconds. It's the fastest, and I think Rotherham have also got like 5th fastest with Lindsay's goal at Luton as well. But he brought in some expert knowledge where he said the fastest Rotherham goal ever scored is something like 10 seconds against York way back when. So Taylor, if you're watching the podcast, mate, that's your challenge. Under 10 seconds.
Yeah, good luck. It's not a negative, Danny, and I suppose this is going to happen on games like that, but the second half of the first half slowed down significantly. I don't know whether we sort of tried to manage the game a little bit, but the press stopped a little bit and everything else. Do you just put that into sort of managing the game? Because second half we were back at it again. Do you think it was just us doing it on purpose almost?
I can certainly see why we wanted to do it on purpose, because if we are suddenly going back to that direct style from not doing it efficiently, shall we say, then yeah, I can totally understand us needing to just settle the game down a little bit, keep it at arm's length, if you like, until half time, and then get up and go again second half. And that is exactly what we did. But like you say, second half of the first half was certainly not on the ropes, but just not as good as the opening quarter, shall we say. Like we let Blackburn in a little bit more. They got that shot away, which Victor beautifully parried away, by the way. That is a save that keeps you going in at 1-0 at half time. So terrific save from Victor. But yeah, I think we did manage the game well. And then second half, it was just like, right, go again. And we were a lot more fluid going forward, but we kept the press going. Second half, especially for Rathbone's goal, the press was brilliant for that goal. We forced the defensive error. Then Dan comes in with the interception, I think it is. And we just keep pushing and pushing. And then Rathbone gets the ball back from Yelder and then just smacks it. And thank God for goal line technology.
Yeah, absolutely. Sam Hadfield says you can't press for 90 minutes. I agree. But it's borderline impossible. You have to manage and pick your moments. And I thought we did that exceptionally well, Tom. We allowed them a little bit too much spam and space in the second half of the first half. But it was only marginal. Blackburn are a good team. They've got some very good technical players. They weren't third for no reason. So they were always going to have moments. But I feel like we managed it really, really well.
Yeah, it was almost as soon as Dak kind of got into the game, started dropping a bit deeper, they kind of upped the tempo a bit. They never challenged our back four, or they never really, threatened in a proper way. I think our performance, as good as it was, does come down to a bad Blackburn performance as well. I think if we played against a top Blackburn side, then it would have been a bit of a different game. Not to say it would have been a worse game, but yeah, I thought that we handled the press beautifully as well, because there was times when you could see there was a lot more organisation within the midfield. There was a lot more organisation across the back, when to press, when to sit back, and they just couldn't really bypass the midfield. It was a resilient performance that didn't even flatter us 4-0. I thought all 4 goals were very much deserved at the points that they scored. But yeah, no, I agree with you, though. The second half of the first half was a bit nerve-wracking at times, but it wouldn't be a Rotherham performance without a solid 15 minutes of absolute chaos. So
True.
it's valid. No, yeah, I thought, especially second half. I'm assuming you, but I watched it on Sky because I'm not, I wasn't able to go, but the stats were so against us for the second half. It's something like minus 15 or something for like goal difference for the second half, or something absolutely stupid. So actually going out into that second half, you fear the worst kind of, but then as soon as they settled down straight away, and it was just good to see. And that has to be down to the management of the press. And I think it's a testament to the players as well. It seems like the players have had a say in it, and it can only kick on from here, surely.
Yeah, so Shelley FC says thing is we had to settle it down a bit because we can't give, as mentioned, can't go over 90 minutes. You get into the break in front, and it was up to us to lose, which I agree. Dave Scurran says you're having a laugh, Mick. What game were you watching? The new lads made a massive difference. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my question to that would be, tell me specifically how they did what they did. They did their job and they did it well. But my argument would be, and again, it's not a criticism. I'm not having a dig at all because of the great signings. They really are. But I don't think they did anything different to what Woody would have done, or not Wes at the moment because of his form, but Wes on form. It's not a criticism, and I'm not having a dig at them because, like I said, the great signings. But I don't think they had the influence on the game to make the difference that there has been from this game to the previous.
Yeah, I think I get what you mean. Shelley FC says formation change was the big factor yesterday. I think it was Ray Smedley. Even though we got back to the high press, if we let teams play, we struggle. But yesterday we got back to the old ways. So on the press, Mick, there was a press. How do you define a high press? Do you define a high press as pressing the keeper, or do you just define a high press as a high intensity? Because we didn't press the keeper.
Yeah,
we didn't press them until they came near the halfway. I think the press was clever when we did it. We didn't. So we said up walking back to car yesterday. Last season, Michael Smith did an amazing job at running down blind alleys, and that worked in League One previously in the Championship. And I thought the press was so clever yesterday in that sense.
Yeah, it was far better thought out than it was under the previous management. Far better. We kind of did it in phases almost, or phases of the game where we didn't press and we let them play, and other phases where we just got in the faces. And as you say, we weren't pressing massively high up. All they wanted to do was tap it around amongst the centre halves. They were happy at that. You know, the 3-0 down with 10 minutes to go. They could get against the team with probably the worst form record in the division, and all they're doing is tapping it between centre halves. They get a goal back at that point. You know, they could easily not vent the confidence and possibly get another one and really make it tough. But they had no intentions of doing that. They just all they wanted to do was tap it about. And this was one of the points I tried to make when we were playing badly about coaches. They've got a way that they want teams to play, and we thought that over the last 4 or 5 games, that's how Matt Taylor was wanting us to play. And these coaches don't have no inclination to change it. And Blackburn clearly have one way of playing, and only one, because they didn't change it in any way. Matt Taylor has done that; he's changed it, and massive kudos to him and the team for realising something's not right and playing to our strengths. Blackburn didn't do that. Their only strength is to tap it about. They had no intentions of trying to do anything else. Bizarre, a really bizarre performance from a team that are allegedly going for Premier League. Ridiculous. But hey, whatever. The press was far more intelligent than it has been. Far better thought out.
One of the few comments of agreement with you, Mick. Ray Smedley says he agrees with Mick. The difference was the press and the back four were missing for the weeks. The left back, Elder was caught out a few times and Morrison was steady. I think that's fair.
Yeah, it is, and they're great. They're good players, and they're going to.
But they'll get better. That wasn't the best we'll see of them.
Absolutely, but that wasn't the difference.
No. Then moving on to a bit more detail of Rathbone's goal. The Blackburn boy, it's quite a belter. I can't think of any word. It was just it was a Rathbone goal. As Matt Goodwin said in the commentary a few times, it was ratting around and got the ball. And you'd think he were left-footed. He scored a couple of belters with his left foot. He's actually right-footed, as far as I know. But yeah, a stunning strike. Keeper's got obviously no chance.
No, not at all. It just would have been nicer and a bit less nerve-wracking if it had come off the crossbar, bounced in, and then up into the roof of the net. Yeah. But we had that sudden panic of, how's he not scored? Has that not counted? And then it gets given, and then we all get to erupt again. But yeah, it's such a sweet strike. And it's just set for him perfectly, and he's just hit it with such power that the keeper's beat him before he can react to it. But yeah, it comes down to that bit of high press as well. We steal the ball back. Rathbone drives into the 18-yard box, gets near enough to the 18-yard box, gets dispossessed. The Elder wins it back, plays back in Rathbone, and then he just punts it and it goes in. And just brilliant, innit? And it's great because before that game, this is a start I got off Sky. Before this game, I think we'd scored 1 goal from outside the 18-yard box, and we got 3 in 1 match.
That's very Rotherham United to do that. I don't know why. It just feels like it's very Rotherham United. Phil Oxley says Rathbone was superb. Wouldn't surprise me if somebody came in for him. Yeah. If you're playing this way, Tom, Rathbone is key to that kind of thing. We'll talk about Conor Washington in a minute because I think we need to. But Ollie Rathbone is so important. If you're going to play that type of game, if you're going to make it intense, if you're going to get in the opposition phase, you need an Ollie Rathbone in your team because he's so good at what he does. But he also adds he's great and from the attacking side as well.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that as much as people rate his energy, and obviously that's superb, and we need that in a team that, well, how we like to press, how we do. You definitely need his energy, but on the ball, I think he's been, one of the, he's technically very, very good, and I think very underrated in terms of how he's technically good on the ball. Like you were saying, you didn't know if he was left or right footed. I still don't know because, he can use either feet. He's got a good passing range. He's quite close technically dribbling. He's a very, very all round good player, and like that comment said, I wouldn't be surprised if other teams were looking at him because he is probably our outfield player, most consistent and probably at the minute best player because he sets the tone for the whole game. Every other player did follow him, and I thought it's a testament that every single player was very good in the way that they pressed, in the way that they all engaged with the play. But yeah, they definitely all took over his lead because he's been the consistent performer in recent weeks, and it showed it yesterday.
He has, as Sam Hadfield's put in the comments, he's got 18 months left in his contract. He originally signed a 3-year contract. And if again, this is another topic, but if we as a club were to start learning from our mistakes, you need to be talking now about an extension. Even if just an extra year on the end of his contract, the conversation should be starting now. I don't think they will, because I don't think that's how we work as a club. But that would be how you learn from your mistakes of Chio, Barlaser, Smith, Icky. The conversation should be happening now while we're in the Championship on a bit of a high. We'll see. We'll see how that works, but I'm not. We'll see. Moving on to the third goal, Mick. Let's talk about the man before we talk about the goal, because Shane Ferguson had, for me, easily the best performance of his Rotherham United career. He was absolutely immense. Somebody's put in the comments, and I can't find it now, so apologies. But Shane Ferguson was just ridiculous. He was quick. I didn't think he was very quick. He was ratting like Rathbone does. He's obviously the left foot's very good. If he had a right foot, it'd be a danger. I can't speak highly enough of Shane Ferguson against Blackburn. I thought he was superb.
Yeah, well, I would have thought, man with all that experience at this level, that he was a good player. We've always known he's a good player. Yeah, he might have had some dips in form, and it would appear, based on yesterday, that he's been playing out of position really as a left back or a left wing back, because that position suited him perfectly. And if he had a right foot, it would have been 5-0 yesterday, wouldn't it? So, because he'd have got a brace, but he got a virtually one-on-one with keeper and come. He would struggle to stand on his right foot, let alone kick a ball with it. So, he was absolutely fantastic and arguably man at match over with him and Rathbone. It was a close call, to be honest. I can't praise him enough. Fantastic.
It then brings up a question, Danny, because we've all assumed that Fergie's time at the club's done because of his age, because the place we're asking to play at left wing back, it wasn't working, and that's where we were. That's where we were. But where do you go from now? And we're going to bring 2 or 3 players in, I'm sure. But if that's what Shane Ferguson's got, if that's really what he's got in that position, he plays every week, because the other teams aren't able to deal with that. He's such a threat.
Yeah, and he's. I mean, granted, it's only one game, and we don't really know what's been going off in training. Exactly. But it seems to be a very strong overlap that he's got with Yelder. Because for Doffin's first goal, you see it in action. Yelder wins the ball, plays the 1-2 with Fergie, and then they just swap positions and go on the overlap. So if that's going to be one way that we move forward, I can sort of see us keeping hold of Fergie, if I'm being honest. I think 50k going to Charlton, that's a rumoured thing anyway, wouldn't do him justice after that game. I don't think. I think the plan moving forward should be keep hold of him, work on that system, maybe bring someone in as a supporting role to also do Fergie's job. But going forward, if we're going to be pressing and going on overlaps like that, I say keep hold of him. Because like you said, he put in a very good shift against Blackburn, didn't he?
Very, very good. A goal straight from a corner. I mean, before the Barlaser one last season, MK Dons, Tom, I can't remember last time we'd seen one from a direct from a corner. I think we had 3 in the past 12 months.
Yeah. 2 at Donny, wasn't it?
2 at Donny. I think that was the MK Dons one. Where are you going with this? Are you saying that keepers got to do loads better? Should there be something up post, or are we just saying brilliant Fergie?
Well, Taylor said after the game that the idea was to put it to the back post. So if Ferguson's seen something and then done that, then fair play to him. But I think you have to blame the keeper there. If Johansson does that for us, you're shouting at him and you're thinking, well, you should be catching that. And especially because just before that, to lead up to the corner, it was in a 6-yard box and he had his defender head it away. It was, he didn't seem commanding at all in those 30 seconds that it was. He just seemed like he had no idea what he was doing in that, 6-yard area, and he just didn't have command of it at all. So maybe it was intentional, but who knows? All we know is that it went in, and that's all that matters, really. I think the player front post didn't actually was it Rankin Costello? He didn't do much wrong, I don't think. He just went over his head, and kind of pushed it in his own net, Lloris style.
Well, yeah. Ian Bradley says, agree Fergie is the best crosser of the ball at the club. Yeah, he's got a brilliant left foot. Chris Taylor says because he didn't. It was good because he didn't have to keep running back to cover the defence. Which
it is true, though.
Very, very true.
Yeah.
With
a player behind him, he looks a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's what we've not done for when you have the 3-5-2, Mick, you can't overlap. Danny mentioned it. When you got 3-5-2, you can't overlap. You can use the wide areas really, really well, which we have done in the past. But you can't overlap because you don't have the personnel there. Yelder and Fergie, the overlap worked. They just worked well together, and that's maybe where Yelder deserves a bit more credit than we have given him so far. Did he make Fergie look as good as he did?
Possibly, just by his presence, just by him actually being there, and Fergie knowing that he's got somebody behind him. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It gives him that little bit more confidence to commit further forward. You're always second guessing yourself, I guess, as a wing back as to how high up the pitch you can commit. But yeah, the change in formation has certainly helped. Certainly helped Fergie, and it helped the team, didn't it? Clearly, I always felt that the 3-5-2 was, whatever it is, 3-5-2, 3-5-2 was ideal for the press, for the game that we played. But this formation suited it far better, far better. But that's probably because, as we discussed earlier, we weren't pressing as high up because there was no need. There was no need against Blackburn because they were never going to hurt you in the way that they were playing. That all they were going to do is get a ball over the top. That's the only thing that could have caused us a problem, and it almost did.
Yeah. Ian Bradley says if Carlsberg did debuts, Yelder did very well, but he says he thought Morrison was immense. I mean, we've got a long throw. I think I remember one of the first long throws under Matt Taylor. It was really good. Talk about the fourth goal.
Now that Lee Peltier's got a long throw. Who knew?
Peltier's got a good throw. I know. Who knew that? Crazy. Let's talk about the fourth goal, and there's other bits to pick up. Danny, playing with the bits. Well, the fourth goal, the inside pass from Dan Barlaser is a sign of what that man can do. I thought it was good yesterday. I don't think he stood out. I thought he was a bit wasteful with the ball at times in general. But that pass at the end is why he's in contract is worth £5 million. We're not going to get that, but that's what he's worth in contract because it was so good. And to be fair to Washington, it wasn't an easy finish either.
No, not at all. But yeah, like you say, I thought as a whole, Barlaser had quite a quiet game. It was still there and about and still contributed. It's not like he was just moping about in midfield doing nothing and just following the action about. He still contributed where he could, but he never put his stamp on the game until that pass with Wash. Like he had that little interception moment, like I mentioned, for Rathbone's goal. Other than that, and then his absolute beauty of a pass that took out three of their players. And it's a strange one because he's not quite toe poked it. He sort of hit it with the outside of his toe, and it's just sort of cut through three of them. And Wash is like, "Right, thank you very much," and he finishes. So it's an absolutely amazing assist from Barlaser. The only properly recorded assist on, at least on the BBC Sport website, anyway. Because they seem to think Yelder's thing with Rathbone didn't count, even though none of the opposition touched the ball. First one, fair enough. The opposition cleared it into the path of a dolphin. So it's only Barlaser's, which is the only official assist, but it's an absolutely fantastic assist to have. And like you've said, Matt, it's not an easy finish for Washington at all. He's on his, if he has one, an unfavoured foot, but he still just wraps his foot round it and it just cannons off the post. French kiss of a goal for me. That it's completely fooled the keeper because he thinks he's going near post. He's gone far post and it's gone in. Great finish. And just nicely polished off our afternoon.
Can I just jump in there? That goal for me is all about Connor Washington. It's all about Connor Washington. The ball's a great pass. It's a good pass. But that pass is only available because of the movement of Connor Washington prior to that. If you want that phenomenal. Dan Barlaser don't take 3 defenders out. Connor Washington does by his movement. He just drops off. He drops off the first defender. It's a phenomenal piece of movement. It's just experience. It creates that space for Dan Barlaser to be able to make that pass. It's all about Washington for me. It is obviously Barlaser gets the assist and everything else, and it looks great. But when you actually drill down into that, the movement of Washington there is top draw.
Yeah, I agree, mate, because he picks up possession first, doesn't he? Drags the ball out wide and then brings it back in, and then just sort of loses them and just drifts in to the 18-yard box. And then, like you say, is able to provide that pass for Barlaser, and then he's just like, right, see you in a bit. And then he goes and scores. Like I said, experience is key. And I think Washington, now that there is that little bit of bite in the team as well, which is already put on record in the advertising wants from the team, now that they've got that, they are starting to come together a little bit. And Blackburn was that. Blackburn, the game against Blackburn, even though it's not the finished article and we've still got other players to bring in, some players to leave, etc., but that felt just like the Reading game. It felt like a thing of that's where our ceiling is. That's how well we can play in this division. I thought better. Even that, we might have pushed the ceiling up a little bit further. We might have got the ceiling extension on, but we are pushing that. Like, that's how well we can play. Some games, mainly Blackburn away, is how badly we can play. Yeah. And like that, the rift is quite big there. So we need to find that nice, consistent middle ground. And if we find that and carry on as we are, there's going to be a fair bit of performance criticism, shall we say, in the future. But if we can just mitigate it, pushing that top end, we're fine.
Jack agrees with me. Great assist. However, Washington's movement and finish was top class. Ian Bradley says Wash has been a very, very good signing. Yeah, he's one of the. I feel like he's been an unsung hero from yesterday. Tom, I thought Washington was brilliant. If you're going to have a press, we talked a minute ago about Rathbone. If you're going to press, Washington's your man. He's so good at that energy, that energetic movement, that the sort of the cleverness as we spoke about just then. It's turned out to be a really, really good signing. When he got a stick when we signed him initially, because he's a League One player apparently. Yeah,
well, I thought the only real criticism that Charlton fans gave him was that he doesn't really finish. But I mean, that goal yesterday just proves he's a bit of a poacher. Yeah. I mean, I don't even think he looks at the goal and he found the far corner. It just, all his finishes this season have been quite, poacher-esque. And, he's not the tallest. He's not going to win your headers and stuff. But if you play to his strengths and play to his, attributes, which is in behind, to his feet, on the half turn, etc., then he if he gets in those positions, he can score. I know he absolutely fluffed it against Millwall, but the composure before it to then round the keeper, to then fluff it. I know he fluffed it, and there's no defending that, but the composure before it, he just thought the whole way he's going to score this. Whereas last season, I'm not saying that they're bad players, but if Smith or Ladapo went through on goal, you did part of you thought they're not, So, well, that's what I thought anyway. But yeah, I really think that he's a genuine poacher, and not just that, but he suits the style of play as well, which is maybe why Charlton fans didn't thought he was a League One player. He has to play in a certain system, but yeah, I really like him, and I think if we do get players back from injury and sign players, he'll be one of the ones that would be unlucky to be dropped, because I think based on current form, he's one of the consistent top performers of our season, really, which is weird, because a Twitter post went out the other week saying that he was the worst striker, which is bizarre, because if you actually watch him play, well, anyway, I genuinely think he's been one of our better players this season.
Agree. YouTuber says, give him the service and he will score. Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to a bit of a negative before we move on to more positives. Phil Rowlandson says, Paul Davis said we were only awarded one free kick inside 95 minutes. Is that a record for a physical long ball team like Rotherham? Now, Mr. Whitestone was the referee, and it's the first time ever the fouls that weren't given against Chio, Mick. It's the first time I've ever sat at a game and thought, I think I don't like him. I don't think the referee likes Chio, or there's something there, because I just don't. I can't believe the fouls Chio didn't get. He was jumped on. He was pushed. He could have had about 8 fouls, and he got 1. And the one he got was the one where the linesman waited for the referee to blow. The referee didn't blow, so the linesman started flagging. And you could see the shock on the lino's face because he didn't understand why the referee hadn't given it. It was. I thought the referee were rubbish again. I was nailed colours to mass. I thought they were crap.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked prior to coming on that Paul Davis is giving 8 out of 10. The ref. I'm not sure whether Paul. I mean, Paul is hugely respected from me and from everybody, but I don't know what game you were watching yesterday. No. He's a 4 or 4.5 at the best from yesterday. There were no big decisions for him to make necessarily. Had there been, as he showed against in the Norwich game, he wouldn't have made them. The decisions that he didn't make, particularly against Chio, was targeted not only by is it Viola? What's his name?
Viola.
Yeah, Viola. It was not only targeted by him, but it was targeted by the referee. I'm absolutely convinced because, I mean, there was a point in the second half where whenever the ball was on its way in the general direction of Chio, their centre half had already got his arms over the top of Ogbene, just waiting for it, and then climbing all over his back every single time, and every one of them were a foul.
Yeah,
and they were just not. They weren't given. No, it was very, very poor and very, very inconsistent. The ref yesterday. He'd give a push 1 minute, and then next minute the same push is not punished. It was just bizarre. It was. But the most bizarre moment, as you rightly pointed out there, Matt, with the 2 fouls on Chio in quick succession, the referee wasn't going to give them. And there were 2 clear and obvious fouls, and it took I think the linesman was kind of looking at the referee and as you said, with open mouth, thinking, well, am I going to have to give this? Because you're clearly not. And eventually the linesman did, and the referee begrudgingly blew his whistle. But they were just clear fouls. And to be fair, arguably a yellow card because Chio was on his way, he was gone. And had it not been for that, he would have been, sort of one-on-one with last defender potentially. No, I thought the ref was appalling. But again, it wasn't a surprise, bearing in mind his performance against Norwich.
I think I said pre-game that it can't be as bad. I think he probably was. I think you said it, Mick. I think that's probably his level. I think that's the type of referee he is. Yeah. I just don't think he's very good.
It's just incredibly inconsistent. But seriously, the treatment of Chio by him yesterday was really, really poor. Really poor.
Yeah. I didn't. I said I've never sat at a game and thought that a referee has a problem with a certain player. I genuinely think he had a problem with Chio because there was just some blatant fouls, and it was just. I don't recall ever seeing anything like that on a consistent basis against a singular player. It was just bizarre. Danny, are you coming from the same point we are on that?
If I'm being completely honest, lads, I was trying to sort something out on my phone then.
Professional error on this podcast.
I was trying to sort something out for an event that's only just had its tickets go live, so I apologise. Can you repeat the question, please?
The referee's management of Chio's treatment, it was just, I think the referee was rubbish.
Yeah, I think sometimes referees get a bee in the bonnet about certain players, and they look at the players and go, "Oh, they do that, so I'm going to treat them this way." If they've got the opinion that a player sort of sells fouls to them a little bit, or goes down a little bit too easily, or feels just that little bit of contact and then bang, they're on the floor, they sort of get the bee in the bonnet and treat them differently. That might be the case with the ref and Chio. Not to nail colours to the mast or anything, because it might be completely untrue. But it does feel like that Chio got a little bit of a disservice when he was quite blatantly being fouled sometimes. But then on the flip side, he did that to a couple Blackburn players as well. There was one instance that sticks in my brain where it was quite obviously a push in the back on one of the Blackburn players, and he just didn't react to it. Yeah. And I said to the people around me, "How's he missed that? Now that's a blatant foul, and that's my team that's done that." But just strange to see Chio treated that way when we see other referees treat him the way you'd expect them just to treat all players. If it looks like a foul, it's probably going to be a foul.
Paul Brock says the referee was rubbish. He meant inconsistently rubbish for both sides. Yeah, we're not sat here saying that I think he was biased, Tom, and I don't think he was. I don't think, although I do think he was biased against Gio. I just think he was in general a bad referee, and that's where we are, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have probably said it all. I mean, personally, I didn't notice him really. I mean, there was a couple times that Danny said, I think it was they clear foul on their player, and I thought, well, that's a foul, and they gave our throw in. I mean, there was a couple times when he was really poor, or Benny down the wing when the linesman had to give it was the main one. But I thought, on the whole, based on the whole season of the Championship referees, he wasn't the worst one I've seen, but he wasn't the best. I thought I didn't really notice him. Fair enough. It didn't affect the game as much as it could have done.
I agree.
There's a couple of could have given a foul when for Rathbone's goal just before it. He could have given a foul. There was plenty of other times when you could, some refs in this league would have given a foul on the keeper for Ferguson's goal for absolutely nothing just because he's fallen over. It's one of them. It's one of them. He was all right. I didn't notice him. He was okay. He was bang average.
I think it's about asking for consistency. That's all it is. I mean, we got a penalty given us against us at Ipswich last week for shirt pulling, quite correctly. Absolutely right. Not an issue with it at all. Same happened to Conor Washington yesterday in the box, 2 or 3 yards away from the referee. Not given. It's a clear shirt pull. Just apply the rules as they are. And that's the issue with it. Climbing over the Chio and stuff like that. But you do see, I'm sure, because I had this conversation with my wife who watched it on television, and she thought the referee had a decent game, no issues.
Yeah,
so
that's
you do
probably
see it differently when you're there, and so you see it differently. And job, tough job, and I'm not arguing with it, but do the same thing every time.
No, I do agree with that. There needs to be a lot more consistency in EFL refs in general. I think even some of the decisions, across the whole of the EFL have been absolutely shocking. I mean, there's a couple of offside calls in League Two, and I don't know what, I think it was League Two, just absolutely absurd. And I think the whole standard of refereeing is absolutely abysmal in the EFL. And I think if you get an all right ref, you have to take it because there's so many bad ones out there.
Yeah. Let's move on because we're going into negatives when we should talk about positives. We'll finish 2 comments, which sums it up. Symphony says, I agree with the comments, but he wasn't the worst ref we've had, saying it wasn't very good. But Ian Colclough says, I agree with Tom, the ref wasn't bad. All about opinions. So where do we go from here, for Danny? Because yesterday was so good. For me, it was performance of the season. I don't think it's even close. It's certainly performance of Matt Taylor's reign. And for me, it was easily the performance of the season. Where do you go from here? Because Barlaser could be going his way out. We'll maybe talk about that in a minute, about the Barlaser leak rumours on Friday. Chio's probably on his way out. Matt Taylor wants probably 4 to 6 players, somewhere around that. That 11 will probably never play together again. So where do you go from that? Is that a base? Is that going to change again? What do you think?
$1 million question, that, Matt. Good grief. You could give me a bit of warning on that one. I think with Taylor confirming there is the interest from Middlesbrough and Barlaser, it sort of gives you the inkling that something is afoot, but he's said that the offer's nowhere near the 900k that's been reported by the mainstream media. And from Taylor's record of being very upfront and honest, sometimes to the brutal extent, I sort of trust him with that one as well. But that starting 11 does have the potential not to play together again. But depending on how, Eves and Kelly get on, and depending if he does want to shake it up against Watford, we could be seeing the same 11 again next weekend.
Possibly.
Like, like if the signings are like fit enough and go into the system rather fluidly in training, because Morrison and Yeldon must have been in training a little bit longer than we give them credit for, so just slotted straight into the starting 11, even though Morrison wasn't 100% fit and did have to be swapped out with Woody. But Yeldon was more or less match fit. He lasted 89 minutes. He just needs a bit of tweaking here and there. So we could be seeing the same starting 11 again. I imagine the same system will now be played because, you don't beat 4-0 by not working efficiently as a formation or as a team, do you? So, yeah, I personally think we could see the same 11 again. Although if players do leave, then obviously we won't and we'll see new faces.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think, Tom? We obviously can't see into the future. We can't see what business can be done this week. Is it going to be done this week, or is it going to be done the week after when the window eventually closes? But do you think there still needs to be changes? Do you think if that was the 11 from now until the end of the season, would you think that's still enough, or do you still think reinforcements are needed?
Well, if you look at the 11 and the performance that they all gave, when you know that they're all at their best, maybe not. But if you look at the bench and you think about what players we could have brought on, they were all defenders. We had, I think they were all defenders and Lindsay, and that was it. And you think, well, I mean, if that doesn't scream that we need at least squad depth, then I don't know what does. And obviously, if you take into account Barlaser and Ogbeni for the sake of it that they go, then you're looking at two less players in that 11. And then which players slot into that from the bench, and you probably none. So you're thinking you need at least 3 to 4 additions just based on squad depth and changing it up. Like you said, he moved to a three back towards the end of the game. He's not looking to stay with a. I think he wants to start with a 4 at the back, but he's not looking to stay there entirely. If the game's not going his way, I think he'll want to change it, and I think he'll want the players to come in and change it. As much as as much as Ferguson had a brilliant game, is he going to be in that 11 every week based on his previous injury proneness? Probably not. So yeah, I think based on the performance yesterday, the 11, if they're all fit and still there, shouldn't be changed. But if he does bring in any new additions, I think a midfielder is needed. Not just wanted, but needed. I think probably another winger is needed, and maybe another striker as well, just to with a bit more quality. But I don't know. All I know, all I think is that I think we need a midfielder and a winger very badly, because I can't see Ferguson lasting the rest of the season. As much as I thought he had a fantastic game, and I would like to see him play a lot more, I don't think that's possible. And then with midfielders, I think if all players stay, then you need, as good as a Dauphin was, I think you might want someone a bit more forward thinking, a bit more technically advanced. So you've got a lot of just so you have options to change the game in your favor. But other than that, I think it's a pretty sound 11 that I think a lot of, especially the lower championship teams, would be happy to field as well. So I think we're in a good position currently. It's just whether they can all stay fit and stay match fit and stay in form, because obviously form can drop a lot. I think a lot of their form did drop, which caused this. I think a lot, but then again, I think form dropped this time last year, and we were all saying how poor we were, and I think we were playing against worse opposition, so we didn't get pulled quite as much apart. But even so, it happens to every team. You hit a run of form which you think this is the worst time we're ever going to have as a club, and then you pick it up again. And I think as much as Kjeldy and Morrison were good, I think even just them being new helped the team a lot more. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I hope he does bring in players, but whether or not they'll actually come straight in, who knows? Probably not. I think he'll want to keep the same 11.
Yeah. Sean Green says, watching Rathbone's post-match interview, it seems the players had their say on the way to play. Yeah, he mentioned something about drawing a line in the sand at the start of the week, Mick. Now, we've probably all heard the rumours on social media about the reported unrest in the camp. which may or may not be true. We don't know. Rathbone's talk suggests that there was clearly, they weren't all. Sounds like clearly weren't singing from the same hymn sheet prior to that, but that can happen. That a good leader will have that conversation and right. What's gone is gone. We move forward, and that's you could maybe say the players had their say, but I choose to take it. That's good man management that Matt Taylor's been man enough to have those conversations, take it on board, and move forward. That's what I see anyway.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because it's not 2 weeks ago since he was saying that these players aren't good enough at this level for this level, and they went out yesterday and proved to him emphatically that they are. So we'll have to wait and see how it progresses over the next few weeks. The players have showed him what they're capable of at this level, how they can affect a game, affect a team that are top 3 in this division, and absolutely take them to the cleaners. They didn't just we didn't just scrape a win. The reality of it is that after Victor made that serve in the first half, we were never in danger. We were never in any danger from them. And that's because the players that, with the greatest respect to Matt Taylor, and I'm not calling him out, I'm not digging him out, the players that he said weren't good enough for this level proved yesterday that they are. So hopefully he's taken that on board. And if he has, that is the sign of a very, very good leader. Recognizing what assets you've got and playing to their strengths. That's exactly how it's done, isn't it? You know what I mean? So yeah, we're going to see how it moves on from here, aren't we? Whenever there's a change in management, change in leadership, people have got to get to know each other. They've got to understand each other and understand how each other works. And there's got to be compromises on both sides. And there's definitely been compromises because we're not playing exactly the way we played under the previous management. It's an improved version.
It's an evolution.
Taking on board what Matt Taylor said, but it would appear, has taken on board what they've said, amalgamated the two together and come up with what they came up with yesterday, which was just phenomenal.
Yeah. Shelley, on the rumours, we'll just put this one, we'll leave it. Shelley says, about this so-called unrest, wasn't Matt Taylor supposed to have fallen out with Lee Peltier? Yet isn't Morrison one of his best friends? I'd say, if that was the case, would he have come? Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Especially Twitter.
Correct. Apart from me, because I really can't lie.
You're a journalist. You're a budding journalist. This should be
mate, legit, I cannot lie at all. Like, people call me out like that when I've been lying, and I can't do it in text either. Like, I'm going to be the most truthful journalist out there ever.
Yeah, you need to choose a different career, mate.
I'm thinking about going into painting and decorating, if I'm being honest.
Power UK says he reckons that Taylor apologised for his public slur, for the thing that Nick alluded to. Possibly. Again, he doesn't necessarily seem that man to apologise. I think he says what he means and he means what he says. Yeah, I'll make mistakes, but or did he say something differently privately than he said publicly? We'll obviously never know.
Let's make some open right here on internet.
Yeah. We'll think of something, and then when we finish, we'll tweet that. Yeah. Let's just tick off this Dan Barlaser stuff that got leaked on Friday night, Danny. Somebody went to Sky Sports News, and Daily Mail picked it up as well. That Dan Barlaser has got his heart set on Middlesbrough, but Rotherham United have told him that under no circumstances Rotherham United are going to sell him this window. Now, we don't know who's leaked that. Normally, this comes from the agent or Barlaser's camp, which is the agent. Not great, really. Not a great look for anybody because it's not true. And Matt Taylor's confirmed the 900k, which report is not true. It was reported that we are refusing to sell him at any price, which, if anybody knows Rotherham United, knows that's not true. We will sell anybody at the right price. What do you think of it? It just felt unnecessary, to be honest with you.
Yeah. like you say, won't be selling Barlaser at any price. I think I speak for every miller, like you say, that's not the case. If the money's on the table and we think, yeah, that's about right, we're going to cash in, aren't we? But even if it was 900k, we won't cash in with that. We'd have to cash in probably 1.5, 2 million ish. And for a player on 6 months left on his contract, you can understand Middlesbrough going, no, we're not doing that. I think with Barlaser, he is still a very key cog in this machine. And that's why he said we're not going to sell him under any circumstance. It would have to be a Will Grigg to Sunderland sort of thing on deadline day that would pry Barlaser away from us. But yeah, I mean, I sort of understand why the rumours have come out like Barlaser does like the North East. He's from there. The rumours that have been circulating is that he and his missus want to go back up there, which is completely understandable if that is the case. But at the same time, to come out with a number and then go, no, it's not that at all. It's like, right, so someone is trying to put the move up a gear by making it public, because we had the, who went public before in the January window? Was it Ladipo's camp that went public?
Freddie released it. Is it allegedly his agent leaked the transfer request?
Yeah. I mean, we could be looking at something like that, but end of the day, we won't know, will we? It's not like Dan is going to put on record going, yeah, my agent's a bit of an idiot and he's leaked it when I told him not to. Because he wouldn't have an agent then, would he? And he'd have to sort out his own contract negotiations. It's just a strange situation. But then again, it's modern football, innit? It's modern football and people trying to get the one-upmanship in. Oh, I know this. I'm going to tell this to the whatever paper it is, or website or journalist or whatever. Try and fashion a move, make that party blink first, or egg on this party to make the decision, this, that, and other. It's just made the situation look like scrambled egg, hasn't it?
Yeah. What I can't get my head around is,
go on, Mick.
What I can't get my head around is that this rumour that they've offered 900,000, and what were the other parts of it that we're not willing to sell at any price, and whatever else they've said. We've been told that the 900k thing is a lie, is not true. We've been told that us not willing to sell at any price is also not true. So we put them to one side, but we're still willing to believe the rest of it. I mean, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. It's just made up nonsense. We've been told.
It's not made up. It's been Sky Sports.
It's made up. It's wrong.
But Sky Sports and Daily Mail were insignificant to those people as a club. So why would unless an agent, or to be fair, it could have been the club. Let's be right. It could have. I don't think it is, but it could have been.
Us, could have been Middlesbrough.
It could have been
so
Middlesbrough.
Many different parties.
Yeah, exactly.
It could have been Alan Shearer for all we know.
It could have been Joe Blogs off Twitter, because that's where a lot of these places, particularly the likes of Daily Mail and the BBC, get all their news from. It's just nonsense. We've been told it's rubbish. We've been told that it's not true, and yet we're still entertaining the notion that there's some element of truth in it. I find it really bizarre.
Well, no. We're not interested in the fact that any of the truth about somebody's gone out with this, and the question is, that's the point.
And it's as much likely to be Joe Blogs off Twitter as it is somebody at Rotherham United or Middlesbrough.
Not for Sky Sports.
It could have been any of those three people.
For Sky Sports, come from us, Barlaser's camp or Borough.
Why? Well, two of the parts of it are wrong.
Yep. Yeah.
And then either us. No,
are you trying to tell me the agents always tell the truth? Is that what you said?
I think we should be making notes on this, Tom.
No, they don't. Absolutely, they don't. But why would they put out a rumour that's palpably and provably not true? Why?
To put pressure on the club to try and sell him.
Nonsense. It's nonsense. It's made up. And if it's not made up, then let him go. But I don't think that's... It's just I don't understand why we entertain these things. I don't, genuinely. Particularly when we're told that half of it's not true from horse's mouth.
John Simpson to force Rotherham's hand and selling. That's if this is if it's coming from the Barlaser camp, that's the idea. The good thing is, and I think it is really good, is that Barlaser played well, Tom. Because if Barlaser came out and had a stinker, even if this didn't come from his camp, if he came out and had a stinker on Saturday, there'd be a lot of unhappy fans because you were making assumptions.
Well, he was captain as well, wasn't he? Was that part of his? Yeah. I don't know. I it's fathomable that Barlaser wants to move further close to Newcastle. That's fair enough. But other than that, I agree with Mick that if both of it's come out as not being true, then it's probably just a ploy to try and get to sell him. And if he listens to it, if he wants to go, then nothing in the paper is going to change that. If we get the right offer, then he will go. If he wants to go, then he'll go. Nothing in the papers or anything like that is going to change it. The fact that he was captain and played well, I mean, I think his qualities dipped a bit, but I think his effort's still there. Because if he'd moped about the pitch as captain, then of course, then you'd understand that both parties want him gone, or at least Barlaser's party want him gone. But the fact that he played, he put his effort in, quality wasn't always there, but the effort was. You got to think that maybe, even though he might want to go to Borough, bigger wages, closer to home, etc., it doesn't matter because he's playing for this club and that's where he's gonna be, until his contract runs out, and that's all that really matters at the end of the day. If he leaves at the end of the season, so be it. If he leaves in the next week, so be it. As long as he keeps churning out the performances, then I don't think many Rotherham fans will complain, because it's not quite the same thing that Ladapo did. Ladapo was dropped from the squad, and then it got leaked that he put in a transfer request, etc. And then Smith and Icky and all that kind of nonsense. He's not done that. He's playing his football. He's letting whatever absolute nonsense go on behind him. And we're doing the same. We're letting whatever nonsense happen. If a bid comes in, a bid comes in, and if it doesn't, then he'll go in summer. And we'll wish him all the best because he's been a fantastic servant for us. But yeah, that But I do agree with Mick that entertaining this does benefit the people that leaked it because that's what they want. They want fans to turn against him, and realistically, we shouldn't. If he goes to Borough, I think everyone can see why he would want to. And if he doesn't end up going, then it's what the best to him because he's obviously a good player that wants to be on a bit more money, which I think is a reasonable request. Yeah,
that's fine. I agree. Anything else? Anyone wants to touch on, talk about, mention? We've covered plenty of positives. Managed to take in a few negatives just for the laugh. Anything else? Any other individual performances that we haven't talked about that we should have talked about? Any moments from the game that we haven't talked about that we should have talked about? Anything?
I think we've covered most of it, haven't we?
There's one thing that I noticed that only after I watched it back on Sky, I might add. I think it's after we scored our second goal, you saw a bit of emotion creep through on Matt Taylor, and you sort of see him go, "What's happening?" Because we're playing that well. So I just thought I'd chuck that in just a bit of a funny.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
He stroked his face like, "What's happening?"
Yeah. We'll call it quits as we've done a good hour there. We will be back on Thursday evening to preview Watford, the final game before the enforced break, not an international break this time, but an enforced break because of our FA Cup failure and Sunderland's success. We'll talk about any transfer rumours, hopefully some signings. By the time Thursday, hopefully we'll pick up a couple of signings. We just don't know. We may have lost a player or two. There's rumours of players going out on loan, players going out permanently. We'll see how they play out.
Apparently, Middlesbrough have offered 900,000 for Dan Barlaser.
Have they really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just heard that.
I've heard that Rotherham are unwilling to sell at any price.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know. I'll have to wait and see.
Put it on our website. We might get some clicks and all.
Michael Carnell says, rightly so, a nice header from the fan in the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
That was excellent. I don't know who you are, sir, but that was a fantastic header. Well done.
He got a chance of signing him up from me, so well done.
Oh, brilliant. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Do so on the YouTube channel. We've creeped over 850 now, so keep subscribing if you haven't done already, because we're creeping up to 900. Slowly but surely we'll get there soon enough. And if you're listening iTunes, Spotify, make sure you subscribe on there as well, because you are listening there, so you may as well just subscribe while you're there. And if you haven't already, give us a 5-star rating as well, because if you're listening, I assume you've enjoyed it. Thank you very much. Nick, thank you very much. A couple of rants and almost an argument in there. Enjoyable.
Yeah, all right. People will be getting bored of me now. I'm hoping that I'm not going to bump into Mike 61 Miller at match, because this is a referee's assessor and he's just going to punch me like that.
No, Mick, he said in the comments he's going to give you a yellow card. So, Mike, if you ever do see Mick, make sure you've got your cards and just comes out.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Harley Kellick says the guy that headed the ball was his cousin's dad. Well done. Cousin's dad. I don't know. Is it?
Mate, you made us all brain fart with that one.
It must be. I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know.
No,
I don't know. We'll put that together and come back with that one. I don't know. To be honest with you. You're making me think, and it's like nearly half. It's come past 9.
I can just think about things not about football. It's hard.
Yeah. Danny, pleasure to have you with us again. Thank you very much.
Yeah, always a pleasure. Nice to have a win on the cards now.
It is. Tom, thank you for being with us. I think it's your first win. With us.
I know.
Unbelievable.
The bad omen is lifted. Finally.
Exactly. Thank you very much. Shelly Offshe's putting comments. Why wouldn't it just be your uncle? We don't know. We just don't know what we want. Thank you for being with us. We'll be back Thursday. Let's just crack on. Big festival.
Ravel, ambitious, brilliant. Mule with it. Wood's got round the back, and Richie Wood has done it again. The magic man has come up with another trick. Well, here's a chance to seal it. It's done. It's Georgie Kelly.